I sincerely appreciate this opportunity to present the authorities' position on the proposed review of the allocation of funds presented here, sales charge and cargo charge. At the outset, let me state that the authority recognizes the vital role played by every aviation agency, including the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency (NAMA). This presentation is therefore not about whether NAMA deserves adequate funding, as it certainly does. Rather, it is about ensuring the funding of Nigerian aviation institutions remains consistent with international standards and does not weaken the authority responsible for regulating the entire aviation industry. Distinguished members, the NCA is Nigeria's state safety oversight authority. By law, it is responsible for regulating, certifying, inspecting, and continuously overseeing airlines, aerodromes, the air navigation service provider, in this case, NAMA, approved maintenance organizations, approved training organizations, aviation personnel, allied services provider, and indeed every other aviation service provider operating within Nigeria. Is that not enormous? Unlike other aviation agencies, the NCA does not provide commercial services. It exists solely to ensure that every organization operating within the Nigerian aviation system complies with national regulations, in addition to the standards and recommended practices of the International Civil Aviation (ICAO). Thank God our ICAO rep is here. The authority is therefore the independent, I repeat, the independent regulator upon which safety of Nigerian civil aviation system depends. Before an aircraft departs, according to my colleague, the aircraft is safe, the aviation fleet is safe. Who makes sure that aircraft is safe? The NCA. Simply put, NCA was established. NCA is established to perform regulatory functions in the public interest. Consequently, the cost of discharging this responsibility cannot reasonably be recovered solely from operators it regulates. This was the fundamental reason why a dedicated ticket sales charge and cargo sales charge funding mechanism was established, consistent with ICAO's long-standing policy that the cost of safety regulation should be supported by the aviation community. Beyond its domestic regulation responsibility, the NCA also bears the financial responsibility for Nigeria's Mandatory Commission to key international civil aviation organizations. We fund the ICAO, we fund Pagaso, we fund AFCA. This obligation for the Nigerian state, yet the financial responsibility of meeting this contribution is borne by the authority from its own resources. Indeed, ICAO recognizes this responsibility through protocol question. Let me leave on this paragraph because it's long. I would say distinguish between NCA and operational aviation agencies is fundamental. While the NCA exists to regulate the aviation industry in the public interest, air navigation services providers are established, I repeat, are established to provide operational services directly to aircraft operators. Consequently, ICAO envisages different funding philosophies for each. Whereas civil aviation authorities require sustainable funding to discharge sovereign regulatory responsibility, air navigation services providers are expected to progressively attain financial sustainability through charges levied on the users of the services they provide. Distinguished chairman and members, only a few months ago, ICAO conducted a coordinated evaluation, that's an audit, in Nigeria. We are pleased that Nigeria achieved 91.4%, reflecting the collective efforts of government and all the aviation stakeholders. However, the assessment was also identified as a significant area of concern. Nigeria recorded its lowest effective level of 50% in the area of financial resources, supporting the state safety oversight system. In other words, ICAO has identified the adequacy of lack of therefore financial resources available to Nigerian is therefore respectively submitted that reducing the authority's principles and creatures at this time would amount to legislating against the very deficiencies that ICAO has identified for corrective action. Significantly, the very first global organization challenge identified by ICAO is lack of sufficient financial resources for the Safety Oversight Authority to meet its national and international obligations, lack of qualified technical personnel. These are precisely the challenges confronting the NCA today. Consequently, I'm just cutting everything short to make it faster. Consequently, when I go to the Global Aviation Safety Plan, ICAO now calls for all states to strengthen the financial capacity of state oversight authorities. Specifically, Target 2.1 requires states to allocate sufficient financial resources to their safety oversight authorities to meet their national and international. On the contrary, we believe that every aviation agency should be adequately funded to effectively discharge its statutory responsibility. Indeed, if additional financial support is required for NAMA, the authority respectfully submits that such support should first be pursued through the optimization of its extensive statutory commercial revenue stream. He has a lot of revenue streams. Improve operational efficiency and corporate governance, and where necessary, target government support for strategic capital infrastructure consistent with ICAO policy and international best standards. The authority further respectfully submits that any review of Nigeria's aviation funding framework should also take cognizance of the fact that NCA remains heavily dependent on ticket sales charge. That is the only revenue we have for the discharge of the statutory responsibility, whereas NAMA already derives a greater proportion of its income from commercial charges levied on aircraft operators for the same provider. Our respectful submission is that this objective should be achieved in a manner that is consistent with ICAO policy and international best practice and Nigeria's obligation as a contracting state with the Chicago Convention. It is of this note that NCA respectively requests that this honorable committee champions the return to the original version. We drove the establishment of the NCA and the NAMA. We submit that NCA's allocation of the 5% be restored to 65% to overcome the deficiencies identified by ICAO and its last audit and bring Nigeria in line with the global best practices. The aviation safety is not sustained by legislation alone. It depends upon competent inspectors, effective surveillance, continuous certification, recurrent technical training, international cooperation, and independent regulator possessing the financial capacity to discharge it. On behalf of the Nigerian Civil Aviation, I thank the Honorable Chairman, distinguished members of this committee for the opportunity to present the authorities concerned, even though I am able to see all. Thank you.